This program contains true stories of rescues. All of the 911 calls you will hear are real. Whenever possible, the actual people involved have helped us reconstruct the events as they happened. We begin on August 30th, 1988, in Layton, Utah, where two young brothers were spending a quiet afternoon at home with their mother.
I picked Chase up, who was about 8 months old, and decided that I'd give him his first Oreo cookie. And like every other 8-month-old child that eats his first Oreo cookie, it is everywhere.
Look at Chase. He's making a mess.
He proceeded to get it all over his face, hands, body, everything.
Oh, look at this.
So I picked him up and took him up to the bathtub where I could wash him off and clean him up.
Okay, sit down. Let's get the water.
And I set him in the bathtub, turned the water on, stopped the drain, and TJ, my 9-year-old son, yelled to me and said, "Mom, you wanted on the telephone."
Lori and her husband often took business calls at home.
Okay, can I go outside?
I'm sure my thoughts were, I'll just hurry and get this phone call and get right back to the baby. That phone call I was waiting for, so when it came, it was like, oh good, I've got to take care of this. And I just went right into the phone conversation. I got too heavily involved in a business conversation.
Left on the right top.
It didn't even occur to me that Chase was in the bathtub.
All the invoices, all the originals.
As soon as I took the phone away from my ear, the horror hit me. Chase is still in the bathtub and the water is running. I ran down the hall to the bathroom, and just that awful feeling of what you thought you were going to see, you saw. The water running full blast, the tub real full, and Chase floating face down at the top of it. And I saw him, and I saw his state, and how he slumped over my arm as I was running to the neighbor's house. And he was kind of blue and bloated, and that I knew he was really bad. But you just didn't want to believe it with all your heart. You just did not want to believe it.
When we continue.
I knew we didn't have very much time. I didn't know how long the baby had been underwater.
Just slightly. My dog's dead.
At 5:28 p.m., the call came into the Davis County Dispatch Center.
911 emergency. I need a paramedic. West Layton. What's the problem? This kid is drowned. My dog's drowned. Hurry!
Karen, can you grab the phone? We've got a possible drowning.
The call was turned over to supervising dispatcher Karen Wright.
Okay, do you know how to do CPR? No. How old's the child? 8 months old? Okay, lay the child on a flat surface. Okay. I want you to tip the head up just slightly. Now, I want you to give the baby 4 quick breaths. Cover his nose and his mouth with your mouth and give 4 quick breaths. Okay. Okay. Cover his mouth and go 4 quick breaths, Dave. Okay.
I knew we didn't have very much time. I didn't know how long the baby had been underwater, so we had to get air into him, get some oxygen, see if we could get a heart rate going. I knew that he was dead. If we didn't do something, he wasn't going to come back.
Okay, did he do it? Okay, I want you to feel down where the baby's chest, where the ribs go together. Okay, right in the center there. I want you to use 2 fingers. Okay. 2 fingers. Push 1/2 to 1 inch down to the chest. No further than 1 inch down. Okay, wait a minute.
I was just real scared. I thought that he was going to be dead because I didn't know what happened.
Just stay with me. The paramedics will be there in a minute, but you got to help me, okay?
That precious little limp body, it's about the worst feeling I've ever had.
Paramedic Dave Flukiger and his partner headed to the scene.
Rescue 21, copy.
The part that got to us the most was when they came back before we had arrived and told us that we were going on a baby that had drowned in the bathtub and that they were doing CPR. Right there, we knew it was a real serious call.
Yes, give another breath.
I almost thought I'm going to hand the phone to Dave and let him do the CPR because I can't do this. I thought, no, I put him in this situation. I can't give that responsibility away. It's my responsibility. I have to take care of it.
Okay, do 5 more compressions. 3, 4, he's coming back. He's coming back? Yeah. Okay, that's great. Now just don't compress anymore. Okay. Is he moving around? He's barely even liquid. Okay, that's okay as long as he's breathing. Can you see that he's breathing? Yes. You did really good. Is he crying? No. Okay, okay, wait a minute. Just calm down a little bit. You're doing fine. He's going to be okay. Oh my gosh, I got on the phone and I forgot to cut the phone. Okay, just listen to me, all right? Now, and let me help you. Okay.
I started to fall apart again, and she said, Lori, you've got to calm down. I said, okay, you're right, I do. I have to calm down. What do you want me to do? Because I was willing to do anything. You're willing to bargain everything you have ever had in your entire life. Just so that you know that your child's going to live.
Okay, what should we do? Okay, I want to know if he's breathing. Can you feel air coming back through his mouth? Can you feel air coming back through his mouth, Dave? Yeah, a little bit. Okay, is he making any movement of his own? A little bit, yeah. Okay, I want you to feel for a pulse. By the left nipple, feel on his chest for a pulse. By the left nipple or under his arm? By his armpit. Yeah, I can feel it. You can feel a pulse. Can you do me a favor? Lean your head down and put your ear to his chest and see if you can hear his heartbeat or breathing, either one. His heart's beating really fast. It's beating real fast? Okay, can you
I knew that he still wasn't out of the woods, but I knew that what we had done had brought him around to a point where he was alive.
They're there, okay? You're gonna be fine.
When I finally heard the paramedics arrive, I hung up the phone and I myself started to cry because I realized we did good. We brought him back.
Within 5 minutes, the Davis County Rescue Team arrived on the scene.
Tell us what happened.
The feeling I got is she had seen her baby was dead.
Did you start CPR on him?
As far as she was concerned, that baby was gone, and now it was being given back to her. I can't even begin to imagine what that must feel like.
Okay, was he before?
No.
Okay, Lori.
He's dead.
And all I kept saying was, I can't believe I did this. I can't believe I did this.
This isn't an unusual call at all. I'm sure that just about every paramedic unit in the country has been on this type of a call. It's just a matter of a few seconds. The phone rings, the baby's sitting up, and you say, I'm just going to grab the phone, and you think everything's okay, and you come back and find out it's not. It's hard for me to be judgmental and say anybody did anything wrong because it's so simple to see how it could happen.
It's been 2.5 years since the accident, but Chase's complete recovery still amazes his father, Kelly.
The only thing I really can comprehend is just how miraculous it is that my baby's not brain damaged or brain dead.
Can you see the river? No?
down there. Can you hear it?
It's very important that we realize that if we didn't have 911, we don't know what would have happened to Chase.
Had it not been for this person helping me, my child would not have made it. I still cannot do enough or say enough or communicate enough to her how appreciative I am, how much I love her.
I'm glad I was there. I hope when this kid's 19, he can remember who I am. Because I'll always remember him.
Chase is 3 now, and Laurie and Kelly have a third son who's the same age Chase was at the time of the accident.
There you go. Kelly, tilt your head just a little bit.
We can help other families out that may have left children in the tub before, or left certain pesticides or chemicals or things in the way of children. If we can help them out and realize that these children are fragile and that we really have to watch our step, otherwise we'll lose them, it'll be worth it.
Smiles, one more time.
Over 2 years later, I still feel indescribable guilt. And I am more conscientious of things that could maybe hurt the children. I don't forget about the bathtub. I never forget about the bathtub. Maybe I shouldn't ever completely get rid of the guilt. Maybe it's maybe that's the thing that reminds me to keep a balance in my life.
Hey, sir. Here comes the bear. Gonna get you. Gonna get you. Hey, we got a smile.
Next,
it was more or less a nightmare, and nothing had ever prepared me to see 2 small children lying there basically dead.
On July 24th, 1987, 11-year-old Derek Pickering had spent the day, like so many others, with his best friend Charles Galloway. Late that afternoon, Charles' parents, Bob and Karen, were getting ready for a special evening out.
It was a Friday evening about 6:15, 6:30, and well, Charles and Derek had been over at our house playing.
Charles' parents were just about to leave for dinner.
This was a very special day for us because it was our 16th wedding anniversary and our daughter's 15th birthday. Derek and Charles were going to go over to Derek's house. The weather wasn't real great and they wanted to take Derek's dog home.
Well, Charles and Derek had been friends for a number of years, built tree houses in the vacant lot and climbed on the neighbors' roofs. They'd done a lot of things together.
When the boys arrived at Derek Pickering's house, his parents were out, and only his 13-year-old sister Shawn was home.
You know, he's just a pain in the butt little brother, but he really is special to me.
Mom says I should stay in. It looks like it's gonna rain.
And of course, he never listens to anything I say, so he went straight back out. So I said, oh well, you know, I'm just gonna ignore him.
I'm keeping my Ricky Jordan now. Trade you 4 for him.
4 for him. Okay. What about 5? Let's go
5
big.
No, you take it.
I was watching TV, and then I heard this bang, you know, boom.
Derek!
They always try to play jokes on me, and I figured it was just another joke, and it wasn't funny. It was really scaring me.
It was Shawn.
Hello?
And she said, Charles and Derek are lying out there and they won't talk to me. Those were her exact words.
I don't know, but I've been yelling and I'm really scared.
As we drove up, you know, they weren't moving, and I really jumped out of the car before she even stopped. I knew it was serious. Karen knew it was serious.
All I noticed was that they weren't breathing. It was the most horrifying thing. You'd like to fall down and cry. I was panicking like crazy, but I knew I couldn't.
Is he breathing yet, Karen?
No.
There wasn't any affirmative response from either one of them to our CPR. I felt like I was doing it right, but it was, something I had not done in 20 years.
Sean came out, and I called her and said, Sean, call 911 and give them the address.
Sean's call came in at 6:34 p.m.
Okay, let me get medic on the line.
The call was passed to dispatcher Ann Ford. A respiratory therapist who lived nearby rushed over to help.
I know CPR.
Okay, Sean, I'll have an ambulance on the way. Okay.
A Gulfport rescue unit immediately responded, but they had no idea how serious the situation was.
I just felt like it was all my fault. If I would have made him stay in the house, then none of this would have happened.
It had been nearly 4 minutes since the boys were struck by lightning. When paramedic Richard Chapman and his partner got to the scene, Charles and Derek were still not breathing.
It was 2-minute response time. On our arrival, we pulled up and there was not one but 2 children. And it was more or less a nightmare. I've been to mass casualty incidents, and nothing had ever prepared me to see 2 small children lying there basically dead. You could see burns to their neck area. You could smell the singed hair. It was a smell you never forget. I had just a terrible feeling in the pit of my stomach. The one boy had a heartbeat, but was not breathing on his own. The other boy was clinically dead in the sense that he didn't have a heartbeat and he was not breathing.
I was just holding on to Karen, and I guess that was the first time I had maybe allowed myself to think that he might not live.
Okay, we got pulse over here. Okay, hyperventilating.
Shortly after intubating them, the second boy developed a heartbeat, so now we had 2 children in respiratory arrest.
Rescue 10 headquarters, send me an engine company.
I saw them like taping stuff to Derek and giving him shots and stuff. And when I thought about him dying and, not having anyone to fight with anymore or to call names, I started crying.
6 minutes after the call for help, additional life support units arrived, including paramedic supervisor Mike Stanton.
I saw that the fire department paramedics were treating these kids very aggressively, and I knew at that point that they had some pretty severe injuries.
To prevent overloading one emergency room, Derek and Charles were transported to separate hospitals. Both boys were in critical condition, but Charles continued to deteriorate.
En route to the hospital, he began to posture, which is usually a sign of some significant brain injury. In my past experience, that's not a good sign.
When lightning struck.
Charles was admitted to Gulf Coast Community Hospital, where pediatrician Don LaGrone was on call.
With lightning, we're talking, with a direct hit, we're talking about millions of volts of electricity that may last for up to a second. The higher, more important surface parts of his brain were completely out of order. And that's really scary. When we see that, it's usually a prelude to death.
At nearby Memorial Hospital, Derek's condition had stabilized under the care of Dr. Ronald Bruni.
I suspect that Derek's burns were due mainly to a splash effect. Sitting next to his friend, who was directly struck by the lightning, his eardrum was ruptured, and it was probably from this loud clap of thunder being right close to him. He didn't respond appropriately to painful stimuli. His blood pressure was elevated. And yet, after a few hours, he began to recover, and after 12 hours, he was able to converse with people.
He was still, a little weak, and I knew I couldn't beat him up yet, but the happiest part was when he came home.
But Charles was still in a deep coma.
We didn't know then if he was going to live or not. And then they took us in to see him. He looked awful. He was full of tubes and his hair was all burned. And it was very frightening. I knew that he could die or have brain damage, but I honestly never believed that that was going to happen. And I guess that's a self-protective device, because, you know, I don't know how I would have held up had I really believed that.
Charles' parents took turns staying by his bedside. After 30 hours, his mother finally noticed a change.
He opened his eyes, and truly it might have been 2 seconds, but it was a great lift to my spirit.
3 years later, Charles has fully recovered. He still has no memory of the incident, but it has changed his life.
My relationship with my family and parents became, I believe, a lot closer because after all that I'd heard about all the stories and all the things they had done for me, I realized that how much they really cared for me.
It used to really burn me up when Charles would wear his cleats in the house and leave mud and clay all over the floor. And now we just clean it up, and we're glad that there's somebody there to leave the clay there.
Charles' mother, Karen, gave him and Derek each a lightning charm as a symbol of the bond between them.
This lightning charm was to remind us of our friendship, to show us like what we've been through together, and that we shouldn't separate because we share like a special thing together that hasn't happened around here. We'll be friends for life.
Step out of the car, please.